Hello, my fellow YouTubers. Alrighty, let's start off with some simple electromagnetism here. Got this gray pipe. Hello, Jared. Let's start off with some simple stuff here. Got these magnets and stick them on the plastic here, and then we're going to put the opposing field on top, and we'll be able to see that they're opposing, and we can put one more on top. Those two stick together. So they're opposing. And you got some spring effect. Now this right here comes off a water pump on a dishwasher. It's got a magnet inside of it. The magnet has two poles, one on either side, and it's the water pump that's in there. Let's start off by hooking up this coil. And then we'll hook up the other end. We're going to go ahead and put on this. Hey Tommy, I'm glad you're back. I lost. Hey, Mike in the house. Alright. Yeah, I don't know what was going on. So I had to abort the communication and reboot. Hey, Adam. Alrighty. So let's start this whole process. So put a little AC into this coil here that I made. Got my variac right here, and we're going to just start with low voltage. All right. Let's go into experiment number one. Experiment number one is going to be the electromagnetic gyroscope that I'm going to make. And it all came from this guy right here. It gave me the idea. We're in the zone, baby. We're in the zone. So I got this tied. What I want to do, oh, we stopped it. Got it back going. Alright, let's move on to part 2. So I'm going to make an electromagnetic gyroscope. This thing is humming in my hand. Let's go ahead and take some aluminum. Now this, we know, a magnet does not stick to aluminum. Or is it magnetizable? Put it on top of the coil. You can see it's just vibrating because the coil is vibrating. But if we go ahead and stick an iron core, piece of tin. I think right now we're down to, yeah, we're going to switch out this coil. Into my other coil. So the main thing is, don't ever put electrical tape on coils. That's what's smoking. Other than that, copper's very hot, very, very hot. So is the metal bar, very hot. I'll grab it with a pencil. Good conductor. Now I got specimen number 2 here. I sure do like working with AC better than DC. DC's kind of boring. So when you first put the aluminum, it just pulls down tight. Now when I bring up, watch what happens when I bring another piece of aluminum into play. Next object, oh, copper. Projectile. Copper by itself. Copper's a lot more responsive than aluminum. What happens to when you take a ring magnet, stick it on here? You won't be surprised. Nothing. The attraction from the ring to the metal overcomes whatever's coming from the field of the coil. I'll tell you something fascinating that I found out. I have these magnets. This is a magnet. This is a magnet. This has, you see the pole arrangement on it? When you stick this to something, it is so strong, I can barely pull it off. And I got two of them. And let me just come over here, because I'm going to show you something, guys, pretty good. This is really good. So the salps are facing other, and Listen, whoa. I mean, you see how strong that is? It sucked it out of my hand. I can't pull it off. Shimmy it up. Can't get that off. So we got to show you something. This is very, very cool. So I am going to place you in a place to where you can see what I'm doing here. All right. So obviously I can't pull that off with one hand. I'm going to flip it over. I can't even flip it. All right. So let's get you guys in a good place. I think I can accomplish this. Be patient. Alright. Alrighty. Here we go. Down the elevator, guys. You ready? Here's the pipe. Here's the pipe. I got two hands. You're going to love this. So, all right, you ready for this? So I'm going to stick it on. It's stuck on top. I'm going to get it in the tube. I'm going to get it in the tube. It won't go to the center of the tube. It won't go in the center of the tube. Why won't it go in the center of the tube? Leave your comments. Why won't it go in the center of the tube? Now this is the amazing part. Watch this. I'm going to take all my energy. I'm going to get this thing into the center and watch what happens. Can you guys see that? You can see it, right? I'm going to use all my force to get this thing in the center. And watch this. I was able to release it. I find that amazing. It had a place. Now think about how important this is. It has a place to where magnetism all of a sudden released all of its energy. Everything it had. It's so stuck to the metal right now. Won't go in the middle. Look at the ring. And watch this. And remember the way the poles were aligned as well. I think it has everything to do with it. Poles back down to the side. Only in the middle can I release that. I've never seen before where I could overpower a magnet that's unbelievable strength. That is Godzilla strength. Now, why do you guys think the aluminum and the copper is reacting to electromagnetism? Where does the iron come into play? You guys got any good comments for me? Why does the iron have to be in play for the aluminum or the copper to... Now remember what the aluminum and copper are doing as well. They're They're not attracting, they're repelling. They are repelling. Alright, let's get tuned back over here again. The gyroscope really got a hold of me. And by that wheel turning, this wheel here, by this turning, would be pretty interesting in the world of how magnets control other things, like magnets, or things that aren't magnets, or how about all the material stuff that I showed you guys on videos where we use electrostatic. So between the electrostatic experiments and between, this is basically a regular coil with throwing AC right out of the wall using a variac right here. Can you guys see the variac? Using the variac right here. One of my old-timey variacs. Did all my beginning Tesla experiments with that thing. That thing is so burnt out and so loose. One thing I liked about what Ed was saying, that I made some notes on this. And if you look at this right here, it's a traveling magnetic field. Now, it's going around in a circle, but it's going in two different opposite ways. And if you look at here, it says iron. And iron is this outer shell, this next shell, and then the next shell core is a solid iron. And then your conductor with direction, I put arrow down direction, and then you have conductor out here with arrow up inductor wire, and you send an AC field in here, you'll drive the magnetic field inwardly. And that's what we're working on these experiments, on directing the field to either push out or pull in. So, for instance, I have here a E-core. In fact, I have a bunch of E-cores. And look in the backdrop there, we got some E-cores tied together with some copper wire. I did some experiments with the PMH. We'll get into another video with that in regards to a cylinder coil with a iron core. Very important. Very important you understand that everything I just showed you have sort of different purposes, I would say. But back to the diagram that I made. So when you change the flow of the outer and inner shell, you are directing everything inwardly. And that's what we're doing here on the inner shell. So the core being solid, and then the conductor, and then what we don't have on the outside of it is a shell yet, right? We'll put a shell around the outside. There's your Leedskalnin. Remember what Ed says, right? If you don't have it in a casing, you're losing half the energy. So here we're looking at conservation here. So we want to capsulize. One, we're creating an environment to where we're sending the magnetic river. It's remember, a traveling magnetic field. So we're going to send the field to the center. Okay, everything's in the center. So what you'll see is when you turn on the coil, and you put aluminum down, you don't see much when it's real thin. You put aluminum down that has more mass about it, you'll see it's already reacting. But ask yourself the question, why didn't the thin one react like that? Thin aluminum. It's being pulled down. So why does mass, look how thick this is. Big too. Look at it. It's up in the air. That's a bigger one than the one I did first time. That's the one sitting up beautiful. Look at that. Put more voltage in, higher it goes. Down the voltage, the lower it goes. Up the voltage, down the voltage. Up, down. Now, when you start stacking them, you would think that when you start stacking them, so if I wanted to add this to the top, what would happen? It's balancing itself. Hey, Mike. Hey, Tommy. Woohoo! Anybody have the E-cores out there? Who's got themselves some E-cores back at the garage? So when I'm talking about layers, like Ed Leedskalnin mentions conservative, I guess. Being conservative. So, and getting half the energy. So if you have a solid core and a cylinder, the energy outside, just like this, the other half is getting wasted. And I just showed you guys that. I just showed you that outside this coil, I ran this wheel, this magnetic wheel around this only because it had waste. And I didn't even have a core in it, did I? It was hollow. Back to the notes. So if you look at a E-core, you can see you have the solid bar, and then you have your coil wrapped around, severe around the E. Then you would have your iron around the outside. And then you would have one more layer. Then you got your other conductor wire on the outside with a case on. So in order to drive that flow inward is no different. The example I guess I'm trying to explain to you guys is no different than going in on edge wheel. And this is the center of edge wheel, which is an iron core. Then you would have the conductor wire in the inside of edge wheel. Then you would have the iron casing, which is on edge wheel as well. And then you would have the conductor, which is the magnets around the outside, around in here, the conductor. Then you have your iron casing again. I guess it's got to be the ends of the magnets. We're looking at a traveling magnetic field. So here it is if you stretch it out now. Instead of it being a circle, you laid it out. You'd have iron on top. You'd have wire underneath it. You'd have iron below the wire. You would have wire below the iron. Then you'd have iron again. Why is this important? That's very, very marker. You're right on. It's very important. Very important. Just remember this. It's all about the base. It's all about the grounding. Grounding has everything to do with it. So that's how the ear cores are going to be helping. And I had to dive deep into this stuff because once I seen aluminum react off electromagnetic field through an AC situation, I fell in love. Woo-hoo-hoo, did I fall in love. But the interesting thing is, here's your core, or here's your coil, and without the iron core, the aluminum is not really reacting. As soon as you add the core, you can see the aluminum. I'm only sticking it in just a little bit, you know what I mean? Now let it saturate the core all the way down. To me, it seems that aluminum, being less conductive than copper, really shows itself right there. I'm bringing copper. I think it's because the aluminum is around. You see how it's reacting. Watch it react to the aluminum. Looks like it wants to spin, right? Let's stick 2 pieces around on each side. Triangle. I hear a sizzling coming from that copper to the iron when I bring the aluminum by the copper. Now let's do this. Let's float the aluminum now. Let's bring another piece of aluminum near it and see what it does. I gotta get a new variac, but this is exciting stuff. That's not hot. Iron bar, that'll be hot. Coil's hot. So I guess I need to maybe find some kind of balance with how many windings I need for the core. But where this is leading me is to Ed's PMH. Now, something very interesting in regards to Ed's PMH is I couldn't get this to do any of this. And it puzzled me a lot. Really puzzling to look at a core with a regular cylinder coil doing everything it just did, right? And then you get over to this and it doesn't do it. Doesn't do it. Doesn't do any of it. So I got into thinking. And I said, well, I got a hot piece of iron. I got 2 coils, 2 bars, and I'm putting an AC field into it. And it won't do that. But what does it do? Let's take a peek what it does. All right. Always unplug. That should do it. So what are we looking at? We got 2 coils set up. They're in parallel, not series. We're getting ready to bang some AC out of the wall with it. Firing the hole. Let's start off with the spinny thing and see if it does anything. Okay. Not getting much out of it. Not getting much more out of it. Makes a good magnet, but it's not doing what the cylinder coil does. It's got a single throw. A single throw, has a single bar in the center. Can't get this to do anything like that. Let's switch up some wires. So that was parallel. So let's try the wires in series. So the start of this is going to go to the end of that. And one end over here. The trains are coming. Alrighty. Fire. No. All right, PMH is not winning anything tonight as far as awards, but I'll definitely give the single cylinder coil the trophy for the night.